Good morning, stakeholders of the environment. It's so nice to see all of you around, ready for the 2014 Social Good Summit. First, I want to introduce the Queen Mother, the President of the Queen Mother Association, Nana Sewa Bonsu. Thank you, Nana, for coming. And next to her, we have the resident representative of the United Nations Development Program, Madam Jita Welch. Thank you very much. And next to her, we have the Country Director of the United Nations Development Program, Mr. Dominic Sam. Sir, welcome and thank you very much. Why are we here? We're going to learn more about that as we invite the UNDP resident representative, Madam Jita Welch, to explain to us why we are here and also to officially welcome us to this event.
The president of Queen Mothers Association, Nana Serwa Bonsu, executive director of Creative Storm Networks, Dr. Kwesi Ousu, UNDP country director, Mr. Dominic Sam, and colleagues from UNDP and other UN agencies, dear participants, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of UNDP, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to this event, which has been jointly organized, as you know, by Creative Storm Networks and UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, to host the 2014 Social Good Summit in Ghana. What is the Social Good Summit? That is the question. The Social Good Summit was held for the first time in New York City in September of 2010. It is therefore a very young initiative. It was during the UN Annual General Assembly as a side event, and it is due to the initiative of a few organizations of the civil society and also non-profit organizations. In the last 4 years, the Social Good Summit has grown and attracted the interest of various organizations and foundations, including the United Nations Development Program, the United Nations Foundation based in the United States, but also the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, among many others. What is the idea of this initiative? The idea is to maintain a dialogue on issues of global interest which are in parallel being discussed in and around the UN General Assembly, which, as you know, happens once a year in New York at the headquarters of the United Nations. In particular, the Social Good Summit explores how technology and social media could help drive change in those big issues being discussed. This year, the Social Good Summit will include gatherings in more than 70 countries around the world, all at the same time. Organized under the global theme #2030Now, Connecting for Good, Connecting for All, the Social Good Summit will ask the question: what type of world do we want to live in by the year 2030? And how to unlock the potential of technology to make the world a better place for all. This year, UNDP Ghana and the Creative Storm Networks have joined efforts to facilitate this platform, which is for our participation in this world event for the first time in Ghana. Our theme for this event, our local theme linked to the global theme, is the role of new technology or social media in stimulating action for environmental sanitation in Ghana. With the rising public concern about the sanitation and waste challenges that presently confront the country, we thought that this was an appropriate theme for this first Social Good Summit hosted in Ghana. The latest Ghana Millennium Development Goals report indicates that whereas the national MDGs target for sanitation for 2015 is 53%, actual coverage for improved sanitation was only 13%. The report further suggests that at the current trend, the proportion of the population with access to improved sanitation will reach 21.2% instead of the planned 53% by the year 2015. This works out to 23.4% among urban populations and only 20.6% among rural populations. This account is alarming and can have dire consequences for Ghana if no concrete effort is made to bridge the yawning gap between the MDG's target for sanitation and what has been actually achieved. We know that in Ghana already the cholera epidemic has claimed some 90 lives, with some 10,000 cases reported already. UNDP is aware of efforts by the government, the UN, the private sector, and other stakeholders to apply technology to improve waste and sanitation management and to educate the general population on issues of sanitation. All these efforts are still not enough given the magnitude of the problem and its negative impact on human development efforts. More needs to be done. And we think that the application of new technologies, particularly the new media, can effectively complement national initiatives. In Ghana, how will we use social media to shape the better world that we all want? This is another question. We are confident that our useful contributions will stimulate future and innovative thinking on these issues to find sustainable solutions to the waste and sanitation challenges in Ghana. The official hashtag for the 2014 Social Good Summit is hashtag 2030now, as we have said, and as it is written. I'm happy to inform you that in just 1 week, this has gathered over 300 million impressions around the world. You too can join the conversation beyond the studio by using the hashtag 2030now in your tweets, Facebook, posts, and other social media. Let me conclude by once again welcoming all of you and thanking Creative Storm Networks for putting this together in just a few days. We say Ayeko. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, all of you, and welcome to this discussion. It's a very special initiative, and we have gathered some of the most distinguished stakeholders to have some kind of a conversation which can give us a better understanding of the situation relating to sanitation in Ghana. I have on my right Dr. Zizo Yirenya Tewia, who is a research fellow from the Institute for Environment and Sanitation Studies from the University of Ghana. You're welcome.
Thank you.
I have Dr. Simpson Enim Boateng, who is actually the director for the Metro Public Health Department, AMA, which we all know as the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. Please give him a big round of applause. And as I mentioned, I have one of the most intrepid bloggers that Ghana's ever known, Mr. Kobe Blay, who incidentally is also a nurse. So we are really excited and pleased to have Mr. Kobe Blay. Mr. Boateng, what really is the situation now? You heard the representative from the UNDP mention the fact that we are now in the middle of a cholera outbreak. That clearly relates to the environment and how we are organizing and disposing of waste.
Thank you very much, Dr. Osu. See, if you look a few months back, and then you look at the situation as it is now, you can already see that there is very significant improvement in the sanitation situation in the system. some months ago, about some 3 months ago, the situation was so bad. And some of us saw this epidemic coming, you know. So as at now, I can say that we are working very hard. And, you know, if you go to a place like Agogroshi, where I have just come from, you see that there's a lot of improvement there. This improvement has come about as a result of a few measures we have put in place. You know, you recall that recently we didn't have anywhere to dump our refuse. There was a problem, a very serious problem with the final disposal site. Hitherto, we're dumping around the Malam area, you know, open spaces, old quarry size. You just go there and start doing what we call crude dumping. It wasn't planned, it wasn't engineered. You know, so we managed to dump and filled all these spaces. And there was nowhere else to dump. And that's how come we saw those heap of refuse all over the city. Fortunately for us, we have come out with a program which is going to solve this thing once and for all.
We want to really get an understanding of how much waste a city like Accra produces a day. Do you have, maybe not specific figures, but in proportions, how much is produced and how much are you able to dispose of?
Yes. In Accra, we generate 2,800 metric tons of refuse in a day. And we are only able to dispose of 2,200. So in a day, we have a backlog of 600 metric tons. But as I've said, then we have put measures in place to address all these problems. And as we go along, I'll come out to explain the measures.
You've said a lot, and I'm sure there are quite a range of questions that would follow what you just said. But before we come back to you, Madam, what's your take on what's just been said?
Yeah, thank you very much, and I'm really happy to be part of this Social Good Summit. Our environmental sanitation situation, as we are all aware, it's not something to write home about at all. And as Dr. Boateng has said, most of the challenge that they have had is that they don't know where to dump the waste. So this brings to mind the need to begin to think of alternatives and the fact that government alone cannot handle this. This is one thing that I think we should begin to focus on, alternative technologies. And then I'm also happy to see and to get the fact that we are getting onto the social media. We've seen how social media has been used in many other areas, in politics. We've seen how social media is being used in health, in agriculture. But when it comes to environmental sanitation, I mean, we see that I haven't seen much on environmental sanitation apart from our own Kofi Chikata, who is doing a lot on Inshona, using social media. And so I think this is an area that we need to go to, especially because the population that we need to target are the young ones. And the young ones are the ones who are on social media a lot. I mean, I was reading on the net and realized that we had about 14 million on social media, and most of them were between the age of 18 and 34. Now the situation may have changed slightly because now a lot more people are coming on. But the point is targeting the youth.
Sure.
And I think that when we start from the ground, so that we avoid this top-bottom approach, but we start handling our sanitation situation from the bottom to the top.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think there are a lot of questions that, again, you have raised. The issue of alternatives, I think we really want to use this opportunity to foreground some positive ideas about how we can all change the situation. And I must say it's not simply the authorities who have a role to play. And I really want to come back, before Kobe, we come to you on social media and so on. We want to look at the whole journey of, if you like, the waste from home to the site. And what can we all do? One, I think the issue is, how do we segregate our waste? Is that a problem for you? Because if you want to do recycling, you clearly want to have likes. But if it's all mixed up, is that a problem for AMA in terms of disposing of the waste?
You see, AMA has given a serious thought to recycling. And in fact, in the program that I'm going to tell you about, we have plans, very serious plans to recycle. But we have to start from somewhere. You know, you cannot recycle when you haven't provided bins to the, the people. You know, now what AMA and the government has done is that every household is going to be given free bin. You know, and this is the first phase. You see?
Mr. Boate, if I may, can we say free bin? I mean, from my understanding of recycling, you probably need 4 bins, don't
Yes,
you?
I'm coming to that.
You're coming, okay.
That is it.
Absolutely.
You see, you know, the bins are very expensive, and government is giving free bins to each household as a starter. You know, then when people have gotten used to the bins, and with a lot of education, sensitization, then we can add some more bins so that they can do the segregation. You will need every household will need about 3 bins, 1 for plastics, 1 for the organics, and then 1 for the inners. You know, so that is the plan. We have that plan so that recycling becomes easier. But this is something which has to be planned very carefully. You cannot just go up, and otherwise it will fail if you don't give serious plan to it. So that is exactly what AMA is going to do, together with, the government.
Sure. And you mentioned sensitization and, of course, raising awareness and so on, which brings us to Kobe.
Social media is social good. Like, have it. Social media is social good. And it is the new power or the new frontier to the media we have. It's giving power to the people. It's putting power into the hands of every individual. And like he initially stated, something is happening in Akpabloshi. In real time, someone could tell us or update us that this is not happening, this is happening.
So you could have been with him and sending the stuff on the social media?
Yes, we could be there. Someone takes a picture, upload it, and inform the whole world what is happening. It has given us the global platform to tell what is happening in our local areas. Now, aside giving us the power, it is allowing us to engage, not merely with our own colleagues, but experts on the field. It allows us to reach people we have not even met before. Now, it also gives us feedback on what the people are saying, what is happening on the ground. Well, those days when you have to wait for one newspaper to bring a headline, and then you know that this thing is happening somewhere. Now, you can be here, the news happens, and it breaks on social media, even before it happens on the traditional media. It does not take it away from what we have already. It has come to complement it, and it is time we engage with the people as much as possible. If it is the young ones we want to reach, irrespective of they being the young ones or whatever, the old folks are also getting there. And as much as we can connect with the young ones, we can connect with everybody.
But is it really just for the young people? I mean, I know that technology basically is very accessible and so on, but I've seen a lot of people who are much, much older than 25 getting onto the social media, and it's not simply the Facebook and WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I met a lecturer. I think she was, if I can reveal her age, well, she was over 60, and she said WhatsApp is WhatsApp. And she was, kind of blogging away. So let's not this thing about young people,
Yeah.
of course, but now I'm sure you're on Facebook, aren't you?
I don't do Facebook too much. Rather, it's WhatsApp.
Oh, you see, there you go.
I do WhatsApp. I don't do Facebook too much. Yeah, but the point is, I mean, for most of the older people, what is their interest? And when I got wind of this program, I just asked a few people, what do you WhatsApp? I mean, when you go on social media, what are your interests? What are the things that you actually, and it's basically relationship. So if we can use that to establish a kind of relationship between the stakeholders and then get the environmental sanitation issues across, because once you establish that relationship, people get on board with it.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, and for most of them, I asked, okay, if anything came on environment, I mean, are you interested? And it's like, oh, I'm not going to go onto social media for environment. Yeah, I'm interested on the things that are happening around, who is doing what.
But it
those
depends,
kind of
really,
things.
isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
it depends how we interpret the environment, the social media. I mean, I
Exactly.
come back to you, for example. We say cholera is broken out in Accra. You know, I think anybody, young or old, will want to know whether their area, for example, is affected. I mean, we heard, you know, around the Osu area, it was kind of intensive. But that kind of information wasn't kind of coming through. You can imagine that sort of information with real pictures. People would definitely want to know. Mr. Boateng, how do you disseminate information around for communities in Accra to really know exactly what is going on? Is it a challenge, or is it something that you are doing, you know, very well?
Yes, thank you very much. I think we are doing very well, but then, you see, we have always relied on the, you know, the old system. You know, our PR's department is the department responsible for the dissemination of these informations, and I think they have to do more. You know, so apart from the PR department, we also rely mostly on the, you know, the traditional TV stations and, you know, the newspapers, you know, the print media. We rely so on them. But I think it will be much better if the social media pick it up. I've realized that the social media has its own orientation, its own focus, and it is not very healthy. You know, if they can take an interest in the environmental issues, which concerns not only us, but everybody, to really disseminate, because that is a faster way and a better, and has a, you know, a wider coverage, you see. So if it will come in, it is going to be wonderful.
Of course, I think that one can't discuss this without getting a broader view of, for example, how many citizens actually have internet access, you know, with issues about electricity and all of that, you know. So a lot of people are actually using the mobile devices a bit more, you know. I mean, if you go to any typical government ministry, I'm not sure how many people who are actually working in offices are hooked up to the social media. I must say possibly AMA as well. What are you doing yourself to get into this new age? Because you provide the information which others can kind of blog in. Or do you think we need to start discussing how we can all support you, for example, in doing that?
I think I cannot wait for that to happen. That is all coming in to suggest, propose ways that it can, you know, help. You know,
Probably
you know,
a job right there for you.
Yeah. I think the figures that we have now is just overwhelming, that even in this room, you could find out there are a lot more mobile devices than there are people here. And we have more mobile devices than there are people on Earth. We have more mobile devices than we have public toilets on Earth now. So it's almost like each individual must have two devices. Now, social media has variant platforms, and you choose the message where you want to send it. Now, you want to engage people on Facebook or Twitter, or is it WhatsApp? Is it LinkedIn? Is it whichever platform? Pinterest? You identify where this
Pinterest, which one is
yeah,
that?
Pinterest. Now, Pinterest is let's say more photos, and there are a lot of women, the females there, than there are men. Yes. So and
You learn something new every day.
yes, and we have the Instagram. A lot more are doing the Instagram. So it's just pictures tells a lot of stories. The YouTubes, the Vine are all there to do the
Vimeos,
videos, Vimeo and all that. They are all there. Short videos. Even Instagram takes up to some 15-second video. Now, the AMA could relate to the people because every individual wants to be related to the big people. Yeah, I know them. I'm connected to this man. And they feel proud. They want to tell the world. So it's imperative to take social media out now. We can't take social media out now. Unfortunately, our old folks are seeing so much of the bad side than the good side. Whereas when you take your time, there are a lot more good than the bad. And the good we find can be used against or to conquer the bad. I think it's time for whichever institution to get on board to it. A lot more campaigns have risen out of social media. Joycelyn Duma started with the ex-cholera thing. One media practitioner started with no chobo. And no chobo is a hashtag thing. No chobo is no cholera, no Ebola. And get out to the people.
That's
And
a new
it
one.
was interesting how we're able to garner people together. I started a volunteer group online. And as I speak, I just placed this sign-up form. And we are having over 200 volunteers all across the country.
Which sign up form?
It's on Ebola
Okay.
campaign. Now, we are gunning down to sanitation. That's why I didn't stress much on it. But interestingly, you find out that people are always...
Of course, you've got this hashtag now.
Yes. So
What are you going to do about that one?
Hashtag now, the now is, for me, I think it's time for us to reduce the clicks to the acts. Now, we have to reduce the collectivism to activism. That is what we need. People are clicking a lot. People are visiting the websites. How do we convert these numbers?
So what, don't you think maybe more effort should be put on this?
Well, yes, I can't agree with you more. I think we have to make a lot of effort to get them on board, the social media, because you see, even if you go around now, even the Kaya, some of them have even 2 mobile phones. So as I've indicated, it has a wider coverage. So if it can be harnessed very well, it is going to go a long way to help all of us.
Okay, I can come back to you. One of the areas you mentioned is sanitation and health.
Yes.
You know, the lack of toilets. Most of diseases are what you might call environmental diseases, and malaria, cholera, typhoid. It's all the environment. It goes bad, then we get the diseases and so on.
Yeah.
What really do you think we can do to it, apart from the sensitization and so on? And Mr. Boateng, it looks as a question for you, but Accra, for example, doesn't have an integrated waste disposal system. Everything ends up in the sea. Madam, do you really think...
No, I don't want
not
to
everything. Okay. Most of it. I mean, the night soil, I now understand you are trying to recycle a part, but the percentages can go up.
It's a gradual thing, you know. This Lavender Hill you are referring to has been there for a very long time. It's recently that efforts have been made, you know, to reduce the percentage of, you know, the liquid waste that enters. You know, and at the rate we are going, very soon nothing will enter. You see, we have acquired some digesters, placed them in various areas. One near the fire service station, training school. There's another one at Legon, you know, and which is taking care of the northern part of the city. You know, so when they are all fully installed, then nothing will go into the sea again.
I mean, for those who are not aware, basically, all of Accra's, put very bluntly, the product of all the toilets ends up in the sea. They are tracked from various locations and they are simply dumped in the sea. And that has been one of the major issues that have been raised. And I think AMA is being on the firing line for a while now. But I think there's now a serious effort to turn that around. And that story is not coming through because simply, as we are saying, the information is not coming out for people. A lot of people still think that nothing is happening.
Yeah.
What you say?
Yeah, you need to begin to look at alternative technologies. For instance, there are simple technologies that we can even apply in our home settings, where wastewater from our bathrooms can be treated and reused. So for instance, there are places where I've visited where they have sun filters that are already in place within the household and the institutions. So all the wastewater from that institution goes through the sun filter beds and then it's reused for either gardening or any other thing that the water quality level allows for. These are simple things that we can begin to adopt, especially in the urban areas. If we have that information on the social media, you can go and just find out how can I do this and how much would it cost. There are people who are doing biofuel toilets, compost toilets, where your sewage would not have to be collected for many years if it's done well. And we can even connect that now to our normal sewer systems. So the water is taken out and then the sludge goes through a composting system. We have attitudinal challenges and these things have gone on over years where people don't wash their hands. I mean, they just eat.
We just did a little survey, I think, the other day, and it's quite interesting that apparently about 30% of Ghanaians wash their hands after they've eaten.
Exactly.
And not before.
Exactly.
I found that to be quite startling.
Yes, yes. And actually, I was washing my fufu mortar with soap and sponge, and somebody told me, you don't do that. You wash it with water. And that's traditionally, that's how they do it. They just wash it with water because they think that if you don't rinse it well, the soap will stay in the mortar. And so when you pound your fufu, it goes, the smell will go into it. But these are things that we need to begin to educate people on. I mean, these little things. And then people become conscious and aware. I was telling Dr. Boateng when we sat out there, sometimes the challenges that we have, we should be able to seize them. This cholera outbreak offers a good platform for us as a nation to build on our health education, because we can all see vividly what is happening and everybody is worried about it.
The waste that we generate, I can say confidently that over 60% is nothing but plastic. So there's a lot of plastic waste. If you look at our drains, which I've choked, you see nothing but plastics. So the plastic is causing a lot of menace in Accra, and for that matter, Ghana. But it is also not going to be very easy to do away with plastics. The question is, how do you manage it? And that is what we are doing now. The AMA is in partnership with the Accra Plastic Waste Management Project. And that's where Mr. Nono comes in. And we are working effectively. We are providing free bins in the city, for segregation purposes, so that recycling becomes easier. But what we have realized over the years that the actual problem is not the take plastics. The problem has always been with the black polythene bags, and these are the one
they euphemistically call reaciasum.
That is it. That is the problem.
Which, for those who don't speak Twi, the world is dark. It's this very light plastic that we use. And I don't know why that name was given, but it's causing a lot of havoc. So yes. I think it's quite appropriate. It's termed reaciasum.
And that type of plastic, you can't do anything with it. You see, I don't know. You can't recycle that one very easily because it's so thin, and I don't know whether it has any economic use. Those black polythene bags that you find all over contain nothing but fecal matter, feces. Because
there's lack of toilets, so people use that.
Wrap it and throw it.
And just throw it.
We refer to it as frying toilets. There are a lot of them in town. Yes, frying toilets.
Right. I think that's probably been signaled that we are running. There's so much to talk about, but I wanted to end on a more positive note than the flying toilets. Madam, can you help me out?
Well, there's hope.
Okay. All right, I think that's positive enough. So first question or impression?
I think it's important when we get the youth involved in the fight for our sanitation. When I remember that when I was in JSS, we have the Evergreen Club, and up till now, I can't stand throwing plastic or any kind of thing outside. And this is like 18 years ago, and it's still ingrained in me. So if we can get the kids, the schools fighting this campaign, it will help. And so I think it's a brilliant thing you've talked about.
For me, the problem is not about somebody who is not educated. I think that the educated and the person who is not educated has to be educated.
I'm Cindy Baidu, and I'm from the Environmental Protection Agency. Schools and other educational institutions have been provided bins. In fact, the university, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, the science department, has also come on board with this program. So it has started. What is it about? It's about segregating waste into 3 fractions. Paper, because in the ministries we use a lot of paper. Then food waste, the organics, and then plastics, as you've talked about plastics. As was said by one of the panelists, a lot of the waste that goes to the landfill is plastics. And that is why landfill sites, which are supposed to last probably 10 years, will take 2 years to be full. The way the country has to go is not landfilling, because there are not enough sites for landfills. And the nuisance associated with landfills are enormous. As we came here today, I've had discussions with the United Nations Development Program, who are also going to start this segregation program. And I will throw a challenge to the development partners in this country to also start segregation of waste. Even for all of us in our homes, let us try and segregate waste in our small ways. You don't need the plastic containers before you segregate waste. In countries like Rwanda, they were using cocoa sacks to even segregate. You can even use Voltic cartons to segregate. Let's buy into the idea and let's all start in a small way.
My name is Maxwell. I work for a campus-based radio station, Radio Universe. I wanted to add to the point that Dr. Boateng mentioned about how we are being swallowed by the plastic bag, especially the black ones. I think it's partly because we've made the black polythenes readily, available. Myself on campus, I walk to All Needs Supermarket, which is very close to my dormitory. I walk there, and then anytime I go there to go and buy stuff, the lady there over the counter is tempted to give me a polythene bag, to the extent that there are times even when you pick up toothpick, they want to give you polythene bags. And these things come at no cost. They come at no cost. So I have a lot of these polythene bags in my room. I keep them sometimes.
We are very quick in assigning blames instead of looking at the immediate causes of the problem. Plastics, for that matter, plays a very, very important economic role in this country. It is about the only vibrant manufacturing sector we have in this country. No doubt. It is. We don't have any auto manufacturing or assembling plants here.
So how do you balance it?
Plastics don't have legs. It's human beings. It's our attitude that carries it, that places the thing out there. Who put that thing there? How can social media help in changing our attitudes? The problem we're having is not really the plastics per se. It is me and you.
This is a real challenge, and I believe we should have come up with an alternative that, makes it much more easier to degrade. See, so that, or perhaps also consider the instrument where you pay more for it, so that it doesn't become, just a common product that anybody gets at any time, and therefore, it's just thrown about just like that. So the producers would have to take the initiative.
In the next 10 years, the problem will be in Kumasi. Then we'll sit down and think about it. So let's think ahead. I like very much the hashtag 2030 now, meaning that we are thinking ahead. In the next coming years, there will be so many cities with such problems. So let's bring them on board. I think AMA should not do this alone. Other assemblies that have the potential to generate more with Kumasi, Tamale, should be brought on board. And this is what we need, the political will. If there can be a legislation that there should be recycling of waste and composting of waste, as my other friend said. Composting, we shouldn't only think about recycling of plastics. There is also organics which need to be composted. So we need to think about all these things in unison.
So 1 minute for your...
Well, AMA is going to construct an engineered landfill site. In addition to that, we are going to, include a recycling plant. And we are actually going to convert the waste into energy. We are going to develop diesel for the waste that we are going to do. And plants are very far advanced.
I think it's fantastic. It's not in the pipeline, but it's far advanced.
Far advanced.
So how many years roughly far advanced?
I'm not from that department, so I wouldn't be, and I wouldn't want to venture into that. But even before that, we are also constructing what we call transfer stations. Transfer stations. You see, transfer stations, during the daytime, you gather all the refuse, and put them there, transfer stations. And at night, we gradually evacuate them to the final disposal site. These are plans, and I'm sure if we implement them, all the heaps that you are seeing around will cease to be. You won't see them again.
I think social media is here to stay, but not here for an isolation. Yes, we have to integrate it into whatever we're doing and identify which platforms are right for us to do. And it is time for it to enable us to convert the clicks and the views into more action. And I believe that the world could be without worry if we could all do a piece of social good through social media.
It's very, very important that we work at changing our attitudes. So for those of us who are in it and those of us who are here, we can start right from our homes, our institutions, wherever we find ourselves. Set the example as EPA has started. And through that, others would also learn and get on board.
Thank you very much. And I think it's common on my responsibility to call Mr. Bosman Wusu again to give us a vote of thanks.
I would say thank you very much to our wonderful panelists for driving this discussion to this fine conclusion. We have sent so many tweets on this, and they have been retweeted around the globe. UNDP headquarters is very much interested in this very discussion, and I'm happy to announce that UNDP in Ghana and UNDP in India jointly dedicated our Social Good Summit to waste and sanitation. So Ghana is not in isolation. We are indeed affecting something that is of global interest. So your fine contribution definitely is something that has driven it up to this point. Our effective moderator has done so well. If you agree with me, let's give him a big round of applause. So thank you, Dr. Wusu, for the very effective moderation. It has gotten all of us thinking, and also to our wonderful panelists. Doc, when we called him, he was on the field somewhere at Taboblushi, and he said he's in sandals. Is he still good to come? He said yes. So, Doc, thank you very much for making it. And Kobe, thank you so much for sharing those wonderful insights. And Madam, thank you very much for also helping us to think about the issues in that area. And then to the UNDP resident representative, Madam Jita Watch, thank you very much. She's very busy. But together with the country director, Mr. Dominic Sam, they stayed all through. It's about 2 hours plus, so we very much appreciate you. And then to our friends in the media, your presence here is very much useful, and we know that via your networks, we'll be able to disseminate whatever has happened here to the public. And then from the industry, I don't want to start mentioning names. Thank you very much for sharing your wonderful contributions with all of us. And we know that the discussion has only begun, and we will definitely continue. Thank you very much once again.